The morning sun cast long shadows across the Earth Defense Command building as Commander Kang Minho stared at the holographic display floating above his desk. The message had arrived 3 hours ago, and he had read it 17 times. Each time the words felt like ice water in his veins. Minho was a tall man with graying hair and tired eyes that had seen too much. For 20 years he had served Earth's military, watching his planet slowly become a farm for alien overlords. The Galactic Council called humans a probationary species, which was just fancy words for slaves. The door to his office slid open with a soft hiss. Dr. Park Rena walked in, her lab coat still dusty from whatever experiment she had been running. Rena was younger than Minho, with sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She carried a data tablet clutched against her chest. "You got the message too," Rena said. It was not a question. Minho nodded toward the hologram. 60% of our population. They want 60% of all humans shipped off to their colonies as workers. Rena sat down in the chair across from his desk. Her hands were shaking slightly. "My daughter just turned 18 last month. She would be in the first group they take. All of our children would be," Minho said quietly. "The strong ones, the young ones. They want to leave us with the old and the weak." The holographic message rotated slowly in the air between them. The seal of the Galactic Council glowed at the top, 12 alien symbols arranged in a circle. Below it, the ultimatum was written in cold, formal language. Earth had 1 solar cycle to comply. 30 days. Rena placed her tablet on the desk. "I need to show you something. But first, tell me what you think about this demand." Minho leaned back in his chair. Outside his window, he could see normal people walking to work, children playing in parks, couples holding hands. They had no idea their world was about to end. "I think," Minho said slowly, "that the Council has made a mistake." Rena raised an eyebrow. "What kind of mistake?" "They think we are sheep. They think humans will just accept this because we have always accepted their rules before." The tablet on his desk chimed softly. A new message appeared on the screen. Minho recognized the sender immediately. Admiral Kim Ji-won, the highest-ranking military officer on Earth. The message was short. "Emergency meeting. Underground Facility 7, 1 hour. Bring Dr. Park." Rena saw the message too. "Admiral Kim wants to see us?" "Looks that way." Minho stood up and grabbed his uniform jacket from the back of his chair. "What did you want to show me?" Rena picked up her tablet and pressed a few buttons. A new hologram appeared above the desk, replacing the Council's ultimatum. It showed what looked like agricultural equipment, tractors and harvesters and irrigation systems. "My official job for the past 5 years has been improving Earth's food production," Rena said. "The Council wants us to feed their colonies, so they gave me unlimited funding for farm research." Minho looked at the farming equipment. It seemed normal enough. "What am I missing?" Rena smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Every single piece of this equipment can be converted into military hardware within 6 hours. Those tractors, they are actually tank chassis. The harvesters, mobile weapons platforms. The irrigation systems, they can deliver chemical agents across hundreds of square kilometers." Minho stared at her. "How many of these machines did you build?" 50,000 units. They are spread across every continent, hidden in plain sight as farming equipment. The Council inspectors see exactly what they expect to see. And Admiral Kim knows about this? Admiral Kim ordered it. 5 years ago, she came to me with a simple question. She asked me what I would do if someone tried to take my daughter away from me. They walked through the corridors of the Defense Command building, toward the hidden elevator that would take them to Underground Facility 7. Other officers nodded as they passed, but Minho noticed something different in their faces today. The usual defeated look was gone. Instead, he saw something harder, more determined. The elevator descended for almost 2 minutes before the doors opened. Minho had never been this deep underground before. The corridor beyond was made of smooth metal walls lined with soft blue lights. Their footsteps echoed as they walked toward a large door marked with warning symbols. Inside the room, 12 people sat around a circular table. Minho recognized most of them: military commanders, scientists, engineers, and politicians. At the head of the table sat Admiral Kim Ji-won, a woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair and eyes like winter storms. "Commander Kang, Dr. Park, please sit down," Admiral Kim said. Her voice was calm, but Minho could hear the anger underneath it. I assume you both received the Council's generous offer. Yes, ma'am, Minho replied as he took his seat. 60% of our population to be relocated as workers. Workers, repeated Ambassador Lee Doyen, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. He was a thin man who looked like he had not slept in days. They did not even pretend it was anything else. When I tried to negotiate, they laughed. One of the Vorthak delegates said humans were lucky they were useful for manual labor. General Nam Tai-hyung, commander of the Luna base installations, leaned forward. How long do we have? 30 days, Admiral Kim replied. Their transport ships will arrive in exactly 1 month to begin the collection. Collection, muttered Engineer Choi Ara, a woman with oil-stained hands and a sharp tongue. Like we are cattle. Admiral Kim stood up and walked to the wall behind her. She pressed her hand against what looked like smooth metal, and suddenly the wall became transparent. Beyond it, Minho could see a vast underground hangar filled with spacecraft, hundreds of them, all bearing Earth military markings he had never seen before. For 20 years, Admiral Kim said, we have been preparing for this day. Not hoping for it, but preparing for the possibility that the Council would eventually show us who they really are. Dr. Park Rena opened her tablet and shared her agricultural equipment data with the room. My farm machines are ready for conversion. We can have a mechanized army operational within hours. Engineer Choi Ara activated a holographic display showing asteroid mining operations. My mining platforms in the belt are not just extracting minerals. We have been building a fleet, 200 warships completely hidden from Council sensors. General Nam Tae-hyung smiled grimly. Luna base has been expanded far beyond what the Council knows about. We have enough firepower hidden on the dark side of the moon to level their capital worlds. Ambassador Lee Doyen looked around the table. So we fight them? We defend ourselves, Admiral Kim corrected. But first we let them think they have won. She pressed another control, and the wall display changed to show orbital patterns around Earth. Dozens of Council ships were already in position, waiting. Tomorrow I will announce that Earth accepts the Council's terms. We will begin loading our people onto their transport ships, but the humans we send will not be helpless workers. Commander Kang Minho understood immediately. Special forces. Intelligence operatives. Exactly. We will place our best people on every Council world. They will be our eyes and ears when the real war begins. Admiral Kim looked each person in the room in the eyes. The Galactic Council has ruled through fear and oppression for 3,000 years. They believe might makes right. They think humans are weak because we have been peaceful. She paused, and the room was completely silent. They are about to learn the difference between choosing peace and being capable of war. The question before us is simple. Do we save our species by becoming what we have always refused to be? The vote was unanimous. Outside, Earth continued its normal day. People worked, children played, lovers walked hand in hand. They did not know that in 30 days their world would either be enslaved or free. But deep underground, the real leaders of humanity began planning for war. 3 weeks had passed since Admiral Kim Ji-won announced Earth's compliance with the Galactic Council's demands. To anyone watching, humanity appeared to be following orders perfectly. Long lines of humans waited patiently at processing centers across the globe. Families said tearful goodbyes as their strongest members prepared for transport to alien colonies. Captain Song Hyun stood in one of those lines, wearing the simple gray clothes of a worker. Around him, other humans clutched small bags containing their few allowed possessions. Children cried as they hugged their parents goodbye. Old people watched with empty eyes as their sons and daughters disappeared into alien transport ships. Song Hyun looked like any other human worker. He was average height with black hair and ordinary clothes. But hidden beneath his shirt was a communication device smaller than a coin. Sewn into his bag were weapons that looked like everyday tools. Most importantly, stored in his memory were the layouts of 12 alien worlds and the names of 200 other humans who would be arriving on those same worlds over the next few days. The transport ship that would take him to the Vorthak homeworld was enormous. It stretched for kilometers across the landing field, its dark metal hull scarred from countless trips between star systems. Song Hyun had studied this ship type for months. He knew exactly where its engines were located, how its communication systems worked, and which sections held the most important equipment. An alien guard waved the line forward. The guard was Vorthak with purple skin and forearms. It stood 3 meters tall and wore armor that could stop bullets. The alien looked at the humans the same way a farmer might look at livestock being loaded for market. "Move faster," the guard growled in broken human language. "Transport leaves in 2 hours." Song Hyun shuffled forward with the others, keeping his eyes down and his face blank. The guard scanned each human with a device that checked for weapons and electronics. Song Hyun held his breath as the scanner passed over his hidden equipment. But the alien technology could not detect Earth's newest inventions. Inside the transport ship, hundreds of humans were packed into rows of basic sleeping pods. Song Hyun found his assigned space and lay down on the thin mattress. Around him, people whispered prayers or wept quietly. A few tried to comfort crying children, but Song Hyun was listening for something else. 3 beds to his left, a woman named Kim Ari coughed twice, then once, then 3 times. The signal meant she had also made it aboard safely. 4 rows back, another operative named Park Junho scratched his ear, confirming his presence. Across the transport bay, someone dropped a small object that clinked on the floor. That was the sound Song Hyun had been waiting for. 12 of Earth's best intelligence operatives were now aboard this single ship. When they reached the Vorthak homeworld in 6 days, they would scatter across the planet like seeds in fertile soil. Each one carried enough knowledge to map alien defenses, communication networks, and government structures. On the other side of the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on 11 other alien worlds. Earth's workers were being distributed exactly where Admiral Kim had planned them to be. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Engineer Choi Ara floated in the zero gravity of her hidden command center. Through the transparent walls, she could see the massive construction yard she had built over the past 15 years. What looked like mining equipment from the outside was actually the most advanced shipyard humanity had ever created. Choi Ara was a small woman with calloused hands and eyes that never stopped moving. She had started as a simple mechanic, but her genius for understanding alien technology had made her invaluable to Admiral Kim's secret project. While the Galactic Council thought humans were only good for manual labor, Choi Ara had been reverse engineering their most advanced designs. "Status. Report," she called out to her team of engineers. "Stealth. Destroyer fleet is 95% complete," replied her assistant, a young man named Lee Kwan, who had been working 18-hour days for months. "All 200 ships are equipped with quantum disruption weapons and cloaking systems." Choi Ara nodded as she pulled up holographic displays showing the progress on each vessel. The ships were beautiful in their deadly simplicity. Unlike the massive, heavily armored vessels the aliens preferred, Earth's destroyers were small, fast, and nearly invisible to enemy sensors. "What about the supply ships?" she asked. "Ready for deployment. Each one can support 50 operatives for 6 months without resupply." On the dark side of Earth's moon, General Nam Tae-hyung walked through corridors that officially did not exist. Luna Base had started as a simple research station 20 years ago. Now it was a fortress that could launch attacks across the entire solar system. Nam Tae-hyung was a short, stocky man who had spent his entire career preparing for a war he hoped would never come. The hidden sections of Luna Base housed weapons that made alien technology look primitive. Quantum cannons that could punch holes through planets, missile systems that could track targets across light years of space, and most importantly, the command center that would coordinate Earth's response when the time came. "Sir, we are receiving signals from our operatives," reported Major Oh Seok-jin, the base's intelligence officer. "Captain Song Hyun and his team have successfully infiltrated the Vorthak homeworld. Similar confirmations from all 12 target systems." Nam Tae-hyung studied the galaxy map that filled one entire wall of the command center. Each alien world was marked with a red dot. Each dot now had at least 10 human operatives gathering intelligence. "Any signs the aliens suspect anything?" "None, sir. They seem convinced that we are simply complying with their demands." Back on Earth, Dr. Park Rena stood in a vast warehouse filled with farming equipment. To any observer, it looked exactly like what it was supposed to be: tractors, harvesters, and irrigation systems ready for deployment to increase food production. But Rena knew the truth. Every piece of equipment in this warehouse could transform into military hardware at the press of a button. The tractors would become tanks. The harvesters would become mobile artillery platforms. The irrigation systems would become chemical delivery networks capable of affecting entire continents. "How long for full conversion?" asked Commander Kang Min-ho, who had come to inspect the preparations. 6 hours from the activation signal," Rena replied. We have units positioned on every continent, ready for simultaneous deployment. Minho walked between the rows of innocent-looking farm equipment. And the aliens still think these are just machines to help us grow more food for their colonies? Their inspectors visited last week. They were pleased with our agricultural efficiency improvements. As the days passed, the Galactic Council grew more confident in their dominance over humanity. Reports from their homeworlds described the new human workers as surprisingly competent and eager to please. The humans asked intelligent questions about their work assignments and seemed genuinely interested in learning about alien culture and technology. What the aliens did not realize was that every question was carefully planned intelligence gathering. When human workers asked about security procedures, they were mapping defense networks. When they inquired about communication systems, they were identifying targets. When they showed curiosity about government buildings, they were planning infiltration routes. Captain Song Hyun had been on the Vorthak homeworld for only 5 days, but he already knew the location of every major military installation on the planet. His fellow operatives had identified weaknesses in the alien power grid, communication networks, and transportation systems. Most importantly, they had confirmed what Earth scientists had long suspected: the aliens were completely dependent on technology they no longer fully understood. The Vorthak Empire had ruled through conquest for so long that they had forgotten how to innovate. Their weapons were powerful but predictable. Their defenses were strong but inflexible. They had grown lazy and overconfident after centuries of easy victories. On Earth, Admiral Kim Ji-won sat in her underground command center, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. Every few hours, new intelligence arrived from her operatives. Detailed maps of alien worlds, lists of military assets, profiles of government leaders. Most importantly, confirmation that the aliens had no idea what was coming. "Ma'am, we have a problem," announced Lieutenant Bae Sora, the young officer who commanded Earth's stealth destroyer fleet. "Some of the alien security forces are starting to ask questions about our people." Admiral Kim looked up from her reports. "What kind of questions? Why are the human workers so curious about things that do not concern their jobs? Why do they all seem to know exactly what questions to ask? A few Nexian officers are recommending increased surveillance." Kim considered this information. "How long before they realize what we are really doing?" "Best estimate? 2 weeks before they start to get suspicious. 1 month before they understand the full scope of our operation." Admiral Kim stood up and walked to the galaxy map. Each red dot representing an alien world now had a cluster of green lights around it, showing the positions of Earth's hidden operatives. "Signal all teams," she ordered. "Accelerate the timeline. We move to Phase 2 immediately." Across the galaxy, hidden communication devices carried Admiral Kim's orders to 200 human operative. High Commander Zeth of the Vorthak Empire was having his morning meal when the first alarm began to sound. The purple-skinned alien set down his cup of fermented juice and listened to the wailing sirens that echoed through his palace. In 300 years of life, he had never heard that particular alarm before. His aide, a younger Vorthak named Kor, rushed into the dining chamber. "Commander, we have a problem with the human workers." Zeth stood up slowly. At 4 meters tall, he towered over most other beings in the galaxy. His 4 arms were covered in ceremonial armor that displayed his many victories against weaker species. "What kind of problem?" "They have disappeared, sir. All of them. Every human worker on the planet vanished during the night cycle." Zeth felt a cold sensation in his stomach. "That is impossible. There are 10,000 humans on this world. They cannot simply disappear." "Sir, you need to see this." Kor activated a holographic display that showed security footage from the main industrial complex, where most humans had been working. The recording showed normal activity until exactly midnight. Then at precisely the same moment, every human worker stopped what they were doing and walked away from their posts. "They moved like they were following orders," Kor said quietly. Zeth watched the footage again. The humans had not run or appeared panicked. They had moved with purpose, like soldiers responding to a signal.
"Have you found any of them?"
"No, sir. But we found something else." The hologram changed to show the interior of a Vorthak communications center. The room was filled with sophisticated equipment that managed messages across half the galaxy. Every single piece of machinery had been carefully dismantled and studied. Notes written in human language were scattered across the floor, detailing how each system worked. They were not just working, sir. They were learning everything about our technology, our defenses, our government structure. We found similar evidence at 12 other facilities. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on 11 other worlds. The Nexian Confederation discovered that their human workers had somehow obtained detailed maps of every military installation on their homeworld. The Kelvar Republic found that humans had been systematically testing their security systems for weeks. The Drune Collective realized that their new workers had been asking very specific questions about their planetary defense networks. On the capital world of the Galactic Council, emergency session chambers filled with representatives from all 12 ruling species. The massive circular room buzzed with angry voices speaking in dozens of alien languages. Above them, holographic displays showed the same message from each homeworld. The humans were gone. Council leader Vex of the Nexian Confederation called for order. His species looked like tall, thin reptiles with silver skin and large black eyes. The Nexians prided themselves on their intelligence and careful planning. They had never been caught off guard like this before. The humans have played us for fools, Vex announced to the assembly. What we thought was compliance was actually preparation. High Commander Zeth's image appeared on the main display, transmitted from the Vorthak homeworld. We have confirmed that human operatives infiltrated critical systems on all 12 worlds. They have detailed information about our military capabilities, government structures, and defense networks. A new voice interrupted from the back of the chamber. Ambassador Lee Doyen, Earth's official representative to the Council, walked calmly to the speaking platform. He looked small and fragile compared to the massive alien beings around him, but his voice carried clearly through the chamber. You seem surprised, Lee said simply. Did you really think we would just accept slavery without any resistance? The chamber erupted in angry shouts and threats. Vex slammed his gavel repeatedly to restore order. Human, you will explain what your species has done. Lee smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. We did exactly what you asked us to do. You wanted our strongest people as workers, so we sent you our strongest people. Soldiers, intelligence operatives, engineers, and scientists. You were so eager to have human labor that you never bothered to check who we were sending. Where are they now? Demanded Zeth. Gone, along with all the information they gathered about your worlds. At that moment, every communication system in the chamber began receiving the same message simultaneously. Admiral Kim Ji-won's face appeared on screens throughout the room. Her voice was calm and steady as she addressed the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Leaders of the Galactic Council, my name is Admiral Kim Ji-won of the Earth Defense Force. For the past month, you have been hosting our intelligence operatives on your homeworlds. I want to thank you for your cooperation. The aliens stared at the screens in shock. This human woman was speaking to them as if they were equals, not the supreme rulers of the galaxy. Your demands for 60% of our population have been rejected, Admiral Kim continued. Instead, we are making a counteroffer. You will immediately cease all hostile actions against Earth and its colonies. You will withdraw your fleets from our solar system, and you will begin negotiations for a new galactic government that treats all species as equals. High Commander Zeth found his voice first. You dare make demands of us? We will crush your pathetic world and scatter your species across the void. Admiral Kim's expression did not change. I was hoping you would say that. Suddenly, every alien communication network in the galaxy went silent. Across 12 worlds, the sophisticated systems that had connected the Council's empire for thousands of years simply stopped working. Military commanders found themselves unable to contact their fleets. Government officials could not reach their subordinates. Even basic planetary communication networks failed. On the Vorthak homeworld, Specialist Yoon Jiho emerged from hiding in the planet's main communication hub. He was a thin young man who looked like he had never been in a fight, but his fingers danced across alien control panels with deadly precision. Around him, sparks flew from overloaded circuits as centuries of alien technology crashed under his cyber attack. Network infiltration complete, Jiho said into his hidden communicator. Vorthak command systems are offline. Similar reports came from the other 11 worlds as Earth's cyber warfare specialists revealed themselves. Dr. Han Sunwoo activated biological agents that put entire alien populations into deep but harmless sleep. Lieutenant Bae Sora's stealth destroyer fleet materialized from hiding places in asteroid fields and nebulae. Engineer Choi Ara's hidden shipyards opened their doors to reveal 200 warships that had been built in complete secrecy. Back on Earth, Dr. Park Rena pressed a single button that sent signals to 50,000 pieces of farming equipment across the planet. Within minutes, tractors transformed into tanks, harvesters became mobile artillery, and irrigation systems began preparing for chemical warfare that would never harm humans but would disable any alien invasion force general. Nam Taehyung opened the hidden weapons bays on Luna Base and aimed quantum cannons at the alien ships still orbiting Earth. All vessels. This is Luna Base. You have 30 seconds to begin retreating from our solar system or you will be fired upon. The alien fleet commanders found themselves in an impossible situation. Their communication networks were down, making coordination impossible. Their homeworlds were under attack by an enemy they had never seen before. And now Earth itself was revealing military capabilities that should not have existed. In the council chambers, the alien representatives watched their empire crumble in real time. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy as human forces struck simultaneously at every major installation. But what shocked them most was the precision of the attacks. Humans were not destroying alien cities or killing civilian populations. Instead, they were surgically removing the Council's ability to wage war, while leaving everything else intact. Ambassador Lee Doyen stepped forward again. You spent 3,000 years convincing the galaxy that might makes right. You ruled through fear and oppression because you believed power was the only thing that mattered. He gestured toward the displays showing the coordinated human attacks. Today you learned the difference between having power and knowing how to use it. We could have destroyed your worlds completely. Instead, we chose to show mercy. High Commander Zeth struggled to understand what was happening. This is impossible. Humans are a primitive species. You have no advanced technology, no military strength. We had something better, Lee replied. We had time to prepare, the intelligence to plan, and the wisdom to know that true strength comes from protecting the innocent, not exploiting them. The chamber fell silent as the full scope of humanity's deception became clear. For 20 years, Earth had pretended to be weak while secretly preparing for this exact moment. They had used the Council's own arrogance and prejudice against them, turning a demand for slaves into the perfect opportunity for espionage. Admiral Kim's voice returned to the communication systems. The war you started is over. The question now is, what kind of peace we will build together? We offer you a choice. Join us in creating a galaxy where all species are treated with dignity, or watch your empire crumble while we do it without you. For the first time in their history, the rulers of the Galactic Council had no idea what to do next. Colonel Park Wanshik crouched behind a ridge overlooking the Vorthak Empire's main military fortress. The massive structure stretched across the horizon like a metal mountain, its walls bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities. For 800 years, no enemy had ever come close to breaching its defenses. But Wanshik was not planning to attack the fortress directly. He and his team of 50 human commandos had spent 3 weeks studying the facility's weaknesses while pretending to be maintenance workers. They knew exactly where to strike. Team leaders. Report status, Wanshik whispered into his communicator. Team Alpha in position. At the power station. Came the reply from Sergeant Kim Yuna. Ready to cut main power on your signal. Team. Beta ready at the communication array, reported Corporal Lee Jamin. We can take down their entire network in 30 seconds. Team Gamma standing by at the vehicle depot, added Lieutenant Park Subin. Their reinforcements will not be going anywhere. Wanshik looked at his watch. In exactly 3 minutes, similar operations would begin simultaneously on 11 other worlds. Admiral Kim had planned everything down to the second. When humanity struck, it would be like lightning hitting everywhere at once. All teams, execute in 3, 2, 1, go. The fortress's lights went out as Team Alpha severed the main power lines. Emergency generators tried to activate, but Team Beta had already disabled the backup systems. In the darkness, confused alien voices shouted orders that no one could hear because the communication networks were dead. Wanshik led his main assault team through the fortress's loading dock. The massive doors that should have been sealed shut hung open because the power was out. Inside, Vorthak soldiers stumbled through the dark corridors, completely unprepared for an attack that was happening inside their most secure facility. Remember the rules, Wanshik called to his team as they moved through the fortress. Disable, do not kill unless absolutely necessary. We are here to end their ability to fight, not to commit genocide. The humans moved through the alien facility like ghosts. Their night vision equipment allowed them to see perfectly in the darkness, while the aliens were effectively blind. Within an hour, every important system in the fortress had been destroyed or captured. The Vorthak Empire's most important military installation was completely under human control. On the other side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Bay Sora stood on the bridge of her stealth destroyer, watching as the Nexian fleet tried to respond to the crisis. The aliens had finally managed to get some of their communication systems working again, but their messages were filled with panic and confusion. "Captain, we are detecting 12 Nexian battleships moving toward our position," reported her navigator. Ensign Choi Minsu Baysora was young for a fleet commander. Barely 30 years old, but she had trained her entire adult life for this moment. Her ship was one of 200 identical vessels hidden throughout the galaxy, each one equipped with weapons the aliens had never seen before. "Signal the other ships in our squadron," she ordered. "Attack pattern Delta. Hit them fast and disappear." The human stealth destroyers materialized around the Nexian fleet like deadly shadows. Their quantum disruption weapons fired silent beams that simply turned off alien technology. One by one, the massive Nexian battleships went dark as their engines, weapons, and life support systems stopped working. The aliens inside the ships were not harmed, but they found themselves floating helplessly in space, completely unable to fight back. Within minutes, what had been a powerful military fleet became a collection of lifeless metal hulks. "All enemy vessels disabled," reported Minsu. "No casualties on either side." Baysora nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. Signal Admiral Kim that Nexian Sector 7 is secure, then find us another target." Back on Earth, Commander Lim Jina coordinated the most complex military operation in human history from a hidden command center deep underground. Dozens of holographic displays showed the status of operations across 12 star systems. Every few minutes, new reports arrived from human forces scattered throughout the galaxy. Lim Jina was a careful woman who had spent years studying alien military tactics. She knew that the Council's greatest weakness was their dependence on centralized command structures. Cut off the head and the body would thrash around blindly. "Ma'am, we have confirmed success at all primary targets," reported her aide, Captain Songnari. "Alien communication networks are down on every Council world. Their fleets are either disabled or cut off from command. What about their defensive installations? Major Oh Seok-jin's teams have captured or destroyed every significant military facility we identified. The aliens can no longer coordinate any kind of organized resistance." Lim Jina studied the tactical displays. Red dots representing alien forces were winking out across the galaxy as human strike teams completed their missions. But what impressed her most was how precisely her people were executing their orders. Alien military installations were being neutralized without harming civilian populations. Government buildings were being occupied without unnecessary destruction. "Any word from our deep reconnaissance teams?" she asked. Commander Kim Sang-woo reports successful infiltration of the Council's central archives. He has downloaded their complete historical records and military databases. Major Oh Seok-jin crouched in the ruins of what had been the Droon Collective's most advanced research facility. The aliens had spent centuries developing weapons and technology far superior to what most species possessed. Now all of that knowledge belonged to humanity. Oh Seok-jin was an engineer by training, but years of studying alien technology had made him an expert in reverse engineering enemy systems. His team had been systematically capturing alien research facilities and copying everything they found. "Sir, you need to see this," called Specialist An Hyejin from across the laboratory. Oh Seok-jin made his way through the abandoned facility to where Hyejin stood beside a massive computer terminal. The screen displayed technical specifications for weapons that could destroy entire star systems. "The aliens were developing planet-killer technology," Hyejin said quietly. "If this research had been completed, they could have wiped out any species that opposed them." Oh Seok-jin felt cold as he read through the weapon specifications. "Download everything. This technology must never be used, but we need to understand how to defend against it." As the day continued, reports flowed back to Earth from every corner of the galaxy. Human forces had achieved complete tactical superiority over the Galactic Council's military. But more importantly, they had done so while following strict rules of engagement that minimized casualties and civilian harm. Dr. Han Sunwoo emerged from a kelver, Republic Medical Facility, where he had been distributing biological agents that put alien populations into peaceful sleep. The compounds were completely harmless, but they prevented any kind of organized resistance while human forces secured critical installations. Area secured, he reported to Admiral Kim. The Kelvar Military Command is unconscious, but unharmed. They should wake up in about 12 hours with nothing worse than mild headaches. Admiral Kim Ji-won stood in her command center, watching as the most powerful empire in galactic history crumbled in a single day. But she felt no satisfaction in the victory. War, even a necessary one, was always a tragedy. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender requests from 6 Council worlds," reported her communications officer. "They want to negotiate terms." "What about the other 6 worlds?" "Still attempting to mount some kind of resistance, but their forces are scattered and uncoordinated. General Nam estimates complete pacification within 72 hours. Kim walked to the large display showing the galactic situation. Each Council world was now marked with human control indicators. In less than 1 day, Earth had effectively conquered an empire that had dominated the galaxy for 3,000 years. But the hardest part was still ahead. Winning a war was one thing. Building a lasting peace was something else entirely. "Send a message to all Council worlds," Kim ordered. "Tell them that humanity offers them a choice. Surrender now and help us build a better galaxy, or continue fighting and watch us do it without them." She paused, thinking about the millions of lives that hung in the balance. "And make sure they understand that we kept our promise. We could have destroyed everything they built, but we chose to preserve it. Now they need to decide if they want to be part of what comes next." Across the galaxy, the message went out to every alien world. The age of Council dominance was over. The question now was what would replace it. Humanity had proven they could win a war. Soon they would discover if they could win a peace. President Shin Minji stood at the podium in what had once been the Galactic Council's Great Assembly Hall. The massive chamber could hold representatives from 1,000 worlds, but today, it felt empty with only a few hundred beings scattered across the vast space. Many of the seats that had belonged to Council species now sat vacant, their former occupants still struggling to understand how their empire had collapsed in a single day. Shin Minji was not a soldier or a scientist. She was a diplomat who had spent her career trying to find peaceful solutions to impossible problems. Now she faced the greatest challenge of her life, convincing a galaxy full of former enemies to work together toward a common future. 3 days ago, the war ended, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. Today we must decide what kind of peace we want to build. In the front row, High Commander Zeth of the Vorthak Empire sat with his 4 massive arms crossed. The purple-skinned alien's expression showed barely controlled anger. Beside him, Council Leader Vex of the Nexian Confederation watched with the calculating eyes of someone looking for an advantage in defeat. "You have conquered us," Zeth said, his voice booming through the chamber. "What are your terms? How will humanity rule the galaxy?" President Shin smiled sadly. "That is where you are wrong, Commander. Humanity has no interest in ruling anyone." She gestured toward the empty seats around them. "For 3,000 years, this chamber has been a place where 12 species decided the fate of millions of others. The strong dominated the weak and might made right. That system is what we came to destroy." Admiral Kwon Donghae stepped forward from the human delegation. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes, but everyone in the chamber knew he commanded the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. "Every species in this galaxy will have an equal voice in the new government," Admiral Kwon announced. "From the mighty Vorthak Empire to the smallest colony world, each will send 1 representative to this assembly. No species will have more power than any other." The aliens in the chamber began talking among themselves in dozens of different languages. The idea of treating all species as equals was completely foreign to beings who had spent millennia believing in their own superiority. Ambassador Yu Nari, Earth's new chief diplomat, activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy as it existed today. Hundreds of small lights represented species that had been enslaved or oppressed by the Council for centuries. "We have spent the past 3 days making contact with every sentient species we could find," Yu Nari explained. "Many of them have been hidden away on remote worlds, afraid to reveal themselves to the Council. Others have been working as slaves in your mines and factories for so long they had forgotten they once had their own civilizations." The display changed to show transportation networks spreading across the galaxy. Human ships were moving between star systems, carrying not weapons or conquerors, but supplies and medical aid. Engineer Choyara has converted her hidden fleet from warships to evacuation vessels. Yunari continued. We are helping displaced species return to their homeworlds or find new planets where they can rebuild their societies. Choyara herself stood up from the human delegation. Her hands were still stained with oil from working on ship modifications, and she looked tired from weeks of constant labor. We are not taking anything from your worlds, she said directly to the alien representatives. Instead, we are giving you the technology to rebuild what the war damaged. Solar generators to replace destroyed power plants. Communication systems to reconnect your scattered populations. Medical equipment to help your people recover. High Commander Zeth shook his massive head. This makes no sense. You have the power to take whatever you want from us. Why are you helping your enemies? President Shin looked at him with genuine sympathy. Because you are not our enemies anymore. The war was against the system of oppression, not against your people. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Captain Song Hyun, who had led the intelligence operations on the Vorthak homeworld, walked forward carrying a data pad. During our time on your worlds, we learned something important, he said. Your own people were suffering under the council system too. The Vorthak Empire sent its young people to die in wars of conquest. The Nexian Confederation forced its citizens to work in dangerous factories. Every council species was trapped by the same system that oppressed the rest of the galaxy. Song Hyun activated his data pad, and new images appeared on the main display. They showed alien families reunited with loved ones, council species working alongside former slave races, and children from different worlds playing together. We found that when people are not afraid of each other, they can accomplish amazing things, he continued. Dr. Han Sunwoo stepped forward with medical reports from across the galaxy. The biological agents we used during the war have been completely neutralized. Every alien who was affected has recovered fully. But while we were distributing the antidotes, we also provided medical aid that your governments had been denying to your own people for centuries. The chamber fell silent as the aliens absorbed this information. Many of them were learning for the first time that their own leaders had been withholding medical technology that could have saved millions of lives. General Nam Tai-hyung spoke next, his voice calm but firm. Luna Base and all of Earth's military installations remain operational, but our weapons are not pointed at any of your worlds. They are positioned to defend this galaxy from external threats and to prevent any species from trying to recreate the old system of oppression. What if we refuse to join your new government? Asked Council Leader Vex. What if we want to rebuild the old council? Admiral Kwan answered without hesitation. Then you will do so without the technology to threaten other species. We have removed all planet-killer weapons from your arsenals. We have disabled your ability to travel faster than light until you prove you can use it peacefully. You are free to govern your own worlds however you choose, but you will never again have the power to enslave others. President Shin returned to the podium. We are offering you something that has never existed in this galaxy before. True democracy. Not rule by the strong over the weak, but cooperation between equals. She gestured toward the empty seats throughout the chamber. In 1 month, representatives from every species in the galaxy will gather here for the first session of the new Galactic Assembly. Each world will have 1 vote, regardless of military power or economic wealth. Decisions will be made by majority rule, with protections for minority rights. And who will enforce these rules? Demanded Zeth. All of us together, President Shin replied. Earth will contribute our military strength, but we will not be the galaxy's police force. Every species will help maintain the peace they help to create. Lieutenant Besora, now promoted to Admiral, stood up from her seat. Our stealth fleet has already begun training volunteers from 40 different species. Former enemies are learning to work together as partners in a combined defense force. Over the following hours, representatives from dozens of species took turns speaking. Some were grateful for their freedom from council oppression. Others were angry about losing their privileged positions. But gradually, as the day continued, something remarkable began to happen. The Kelvar Republic's representatives stood up and formally apologized to the Droon Collective for centuries of exploitation. A small species called the Tiny Folk, who had been used as slaves in Nexian factories, offered to share their advanced mathematics with anyone who wanted to learn. Even some of the former council species began to see possibilities they had never imagined. As the sun set outside the great windows of the assembly hall, President Shin called for the first vote of the new galactic government. The question was simple. Should they proceed with creating a democracy where all species were equal? One by one, representatives stood up and cast their votes. Some voted reluctantly, others with enthusiasm, but the result was overwhelming. By a margin of nearly 10-1, the galaxy chose to try something that had never been attempted before. Admiral Kim Ji-won watched from the observation gallery as history was made. The woman who had planned humanity's greatest military victory was now witnessing something even more important. The birth of a civilization based on cooperation instead of conquest. "Do you think it will work?" asked Dr. Park Rena, who sat beside her. Kim considered the question carefully. "I think it will be difficult. There will be setbacks and arguments and times when species disagree about important issues. But for the first time in this galaxy's history, those disagreements will be settled by voting instead of violence." Below them, representatives from hundreds of worlds began the hard work of writing a constitution that would govern their new democracy. It would take months of negotiation and compromise, but they were no longer enemies forced to coexist. They were partners choosing to build something better together. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the Galactic Assembly had begun. And at the center of it all, humanity had proven that the greatest victory was not conquering your enemies, but turning them into friends.